And join me for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no agenda adjustments, so we move down to 2.1 to approve the minutes of the January 24th, 2024 Board of Directors meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All right, now we'll move down to our public comment. I'll have you come up to the mic, introduce yourself and the town that you are from, and ask that you please refrain from using any teacher or student names. No? All right. 4, we have no petitions or communications. 5, superintendent's report.
Yep, so we have a couple of things. Sorry, it's not coming. All right. So first, exciting news, our cheering, because Brian Daniels could not be here this evening. We have senior night over for basketball. But cheering is going to states. This first time they've qualified since 2017, so it was very exciting. Last year, every team was invited, but this year they had to qualify again, so they were one of the top 8 teams, so we're excited for them. They compete on Saturday. We're still working hard on the budget. Shout out to Samantha Sias Garnett, our business manager. She's been working really hard, going through everything, making sure we have everything accounted for, and new things that have, are in law we have to respond to. So she's working diligently on that. I had fun joining the Oak Hill High School, and I don't know if they're going to speak about it tonight, but maybe. We did a PBIS visit with a couple teachers and Sue Rennie to see Oak Hill High School, Oxford Hills High School's PBIS. They're doing PBIS as well, and they're at the beginning stages, so it was good to hear how they've been implementing and the challenges of that and what's going well. And another group is going to visit next week to see their big assembly. The other thing is the high school has 2 boilers, and one is working, which is great news, right? The other one is not. And so we want to give you a heads up that we're working on what is going to be the cost to get that up and running again. We're looking at our budget, the current budget, and how we we're going to be funding and paying for that. How are we going to manage that? So there'll be more information, but in case you hear, is there a boiler down? Yes, there is, but we still have one that we're working with, and we are confident that it will keep working. And it's always important to have the backup also online. And then I'm sure the principals will be talking about it, but we had 13 teachers that were nominated for Teacher of the Year nominations for Maine. And I always love reading that it's not just coming from a principal, but it's the principal, their fellow colleagues, parents, students. So a variety of people reaching out and saying, my teacher special does great things. And so I'm sure they'll be announcing who those folks were, and we have put those names up. So always great to hear the great things we're doing in RSU4.
Thank you, Katie. We will move down to administrator's report. We will start off with Amy and Jenny from the middle school. Oh, boy. Okay. Everybody's awake now.
Hold on. Let me find the middle school. Okay. All right. Good evening. So, we're excited to share some of the things that have been going on at the middle school. So our professional development day in January, our workshop day, was filled with new learning for the staff at Oak Hill Middle School. As you can see here, we had some members from the Maine Learning Technology Initiative, staff who offered sessions where staff could choose their own adventure. And as you can see from the list, sessions ranged from project-based learning to integrated escape room adventures with content, how to create and use podcasts in the classroom, as well as how to integrate Sphero indie robots into teaching. It's really exciting to see how teachers are using what they've learned into their lessons, and we received some really positive feedback from the MLTI presenters expressing how much they appreciated and enjoyed working with the Oak Hill Middle School staff. And we put a clip up there from Josh Schmidt, one of the presenters, with some of the positive feedback he had to say. A PBIS update. We're excited to introduce the Oak Hill Middle School raccoon tickets. These tickets are designed to highlight positive behaviors among our students. The PBIS team is spearheading this effort, and they're collecting tickets in the jugs that are pictured here. And we're proudly displaying them in the trophy case in the main lobby. With each ticket, a carbon copy is sent home with students so that they can share the positive news with their family. We're getting excited as we watch these jugs fill up, showing how hard our students are working to follow school-wide expectations. And when the jugs are full, we have a school-wide celebration to recognize the achievements of all of the students. And then finally, our final two slides are for the middle school tonight. They're focused on the work that we're doing to implement BAR and to share some data. We have Mrs. Waterman here joining us tonight because she serves not only as our school counselor, but she also wears the hat of the BAR coordinator. And before I hand the mic over to her, I would like to publicly say Happy National School Counselors Week to Mrs. Waterman and all of the other amazing school counselors in RSU4 for the tireless support they provide to our students, staff, and families. Mrs. Waterman.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So I'm looking around and I am calculating in my head that every one of you has either a student, a child of yours, or a grandchild that I get to say good morning to. Almost every one of us. I don't think Nicole has somebody coming yet. But that's one of the joys of my day every morning is to get to say good morning to all the kids who come in. And responses range from a grunt to complete ignoring to, good morning, Mrs. Waterman. Isn't it great out today? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So here we go with BAR. So I know that you've heard about BAR from the high school status. It's building assets, reducing risks. And we at the middle school started this implementation this year. And our coach, and we had, I think, one of the top guys from BAR come and visit us. And they said, you all are very, very, what was the word they used? Well, incredible, because we are implementing it for the entire school as opposed to just one grade, 2 grades. And I will say that it is a lot, and our staff is amazing. And this graph here is from our second visit from our BAR coach. So very quickly, you can see that in a semester's time of implementation, the only aspect that we have not brought into implementation yet is what we call a Community Connect meeting. And that actually is going to start on Monday. So the next time that our coach comes is going to be the end of February, and she's quite excited to see how much further we progress. And I will say, we can brag a little bit at Oak Hill Middle School. She said that this implementation is head and shoulders above even schools that have been doing it for 2 and 3 years. So, yay, everybody at Oak Hill Middle School. That's awesome. All right. So, one of the aspects of this that we are just establishing baseline data with are these data points. The attendance, the discipline, which is coming through the PBIS reports, and the habits of work. And in measurement of the habits of work, you can see the 5 particular areas that every student gets graded, in quotations, on. And this happens every 3 weeks, I believe, for eligibility purposes. And rather than reinvent the wheel for our data that we need, we chose to grab this report because they want to see unfortunately, the failure rate of what goes on. And so in looking at this, we are taking all of the level ones, so basically the lowest level, taking that report and bringing it to this. Again, we've done it for the first time now. It's baseline data, so now we can start to track all of the information to see how it's going to be for students. And, you know, we're pretty excited. I'm so proud of our staff because they are so amazing in doing this, and our administration in supporting. So, good things are happening. Thank you. Any questions? Thanks.
Next is Michaela from Sabatis Primary.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it.
Wow, this is nice. All right, so good evening, everyone. I just have, you know, after hearing Katie talk and Amy talk, I feel like I could stand up here and tell you so many things that have happened with our PD day and teachers that have been nominated for Teacher of the Year. We've had a lot of great things happening at SPS, so I'll touch on some of those, but I'll be saying more than my pictures tonight. Okay, so we did have Portland Stage come to SPS, which was incredible. It's a group of actors that come and read storybooks and bring it to life by acting out different scenes. They read, I think, 3 books right in a row to students, and typically after one, you know, you have some restless students. They were engaged the entire time. It was incredible to see, and then students got to participate in small groups throughout the school and in the gymnasium, or even in their classrooms, and get to decide if they wanted to become actors themselves and put on a little play, and get to do what those actors did, or if they wanted to be a part of the active audience. So it was really a great highlight at SPS, and students had a wonderful time. We had our first glow dance, and I know the middle school and high school always has dances, but honestly, elementary is where it's at. This was a great time. You typically will see a dance, and everyone's on the outskirts of the dance. We had Congo lines, we had break dancing. You know, it was, you couldn't move through because there was a lot of things going on. The kids had a really great time, and the reason we had a glow dance is because we have our raccoon tickets and we fill up the tubes. I talked about that a few times. And so first grade got their reward as a glow dance, and I think we're going to continue with this theme in some events to come for some family nights as well. You won't have to dance, but there will be some glow-in-the-dark options. We also started our new raccoon tickets, and I wish I would have put a picture here, so I'm sorry, but they're really cute. Typically, we had the little tiny tickets, and parents wouldn't be able to see them just because they went in the tubes, and then we picked them out, and we use them as a weekly reward. But now we have the double-sided tickets, where students get to take one, put it in the tube, and then they also get one that goes home to their parents as well so that they can see. And so we're really using both right now just to fill up those tubes, but then have that nice compliment or really great thing that they did go home as well. We had literacy night. It was a great success. A huge thank you to our literacy coach, Rebecca D'Alessandro. We had many families come, and each child got to pick a book to bring home, and some of them picked out a book for their sibling as well. And then there was a kit for parents as well. So that night was really centered around reading together and having conversations about the book. So there was a little toolkit in that picture down at the bottom where families can read at home, and then they have guided questions of what to talk about with your student when you're engaging in that reading time together. I do also want to highlight we had so much fun with lunch and a show. We've had so many different events happening with Officer Brown, and we did some bus safety. And it was actually the same day as Portland Stage and our community meeting. So it was like completely entertaining the kids all day long. So we did a bus safety skit similar to what we did at Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker last year, where we had a expected bus versus an unexpected bus. And so the kids really got a kick out of that, about following expectations. And Officer Brown did a wonderful job. We actually did a skit to try to compete with Portland Stage. We fell short, but we did try our best. So great things happening at Sabattis Primary School, and I do want to highlight the teachers that were nominated for Teacher of the Year: Cheryl DCO, Jolene Passant, and Jen Lane. So great things happening at SPS, and thank you all very much. Have a great night.
Thank you. Up next is Dustin and Cherie from Libby Tozier Carrie Ricker.
All right, good evening. Typically, we break down the schools each week, Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker. But today, I really wanted to focus in on an activity that we did during our workshop day and how we used our workshop days. I think sometimes those go overlooked. And so I really want to highlight the staff and just the accomplishments that was done and given it the time I think it deserves. So on January 22nd at our workshop day, we combined Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker School into Teach Ovation Day. So essentially what we did is we built the staff feedback from our surveys that we send out after the workshop days. What do you want to see during a workshop day? Like, what's important to you? And the answer that always comes back is usually choice, options, as many options as possible, because we have many different learning styles, both our students and our staff, and many different expertise that we can share with each other. So this was all facilitated by classroom teachers, ed techs, Unified Arts, and instructional coaches. As we started to set up our Teach Ovation Day, there was 6 objectives that we really wanted to focus in on. Foster a growth mindset, promote collaboration, explore emerging practices, cultivate creativity, reach all students, and reflect on pedagogy. So we sent out an invitation to staff and saying, what is your expertise that you would like to share with others? We're going to have 4 sessions, an hour each, and we'd really like to have a lot of options for teachers to not only participate, but also share their expertise too. So what we had back was 16 different offerings from teachers, coaches, etc. Anything from bringing back regulated classroom ideas to read-alouds, mentor text, small groups. We had some watercolor painting was nice. Math manipulatives, and the Cricut machine, which is, if you've worked in a school, you know can be very helpful. So, as we got the day rolling with our different sessions, you can see some of the teachers here collaborating, learning from each other throughout the day. And it was not only a positive experience, but we also learned a lot about each other as a staff, which was nice as well. And through that work, we bring it back into our classroom and to use it in our instructional strategies. Here's it a little bit more. Fun. And so then we did a survey. What did you think of this option? So we had 43 responses. Over 50% of staff, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, said it was a 5, which is a challenge on a workshop day. But so we were pretty happy with the results. And if you look at the green, 37% said it was a 4. So you're looking at approximately 88% really felt they got a lot of the day, which is a great number we're looking for. So overall, we're excited to see where this leads us in the future. People have already started talking about different opportunities that they can contribute to things like PLGs and other instructional practices that we can share with each other. So great learning experience, great team building and collaboration. I'm really proud of the staff of both schools. And finally, we have 4 nominations for Teachers of the Year. At Carrie Ricker, we have Sierra Gilly and Chuck Pagani. And at Libby Tozier, we have Brittany Shaw and Jan LaValle. Congratulations to them.
Thank you. Next up will be Mr. Al Marco and Sue Rennie from the high school.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Just going to switch the presentation over to my computer because I have a short video that I would like to share. And I am not able to transfer the rights over to Jordan. So if you just give us a minute here. You said it was conference, Jordan, is that correct? Thank you. Hooray! That's the first obstacle. No, that's not it. Oh, everybody's looking. Alrighty. Here we go. All right. Well, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share some of the most recent happenings at Oak Hill High School. First and foremost, I would like to highlight the Androscoggin Androscoggin County Teachers of the Year nominations for Oak Hill High School. Angela Roy, Kirsten Arndt, and Ryan Crocker are all deserving of the nomination as they all contribute greatly to Oak Hill High School. And you can see up there, Angela is a business teacher. She's also behind me here in the seats, which is great. Was also the advisor for FBLA, and she also played an instrumental role in the holiday baskets. Kirsten is an art teacher who works hard to foster relationships with each individual student, plays a huge role in the homecoming assembly. And then Ryan is a chemistry teacher at the high school. He also teaches computer science courses, and he's an advisor for esports and robotics. And all three are valued members of Oak Hill High School. And we'll see where the process goes. We're very hopeful, but they should be recognized for their nominations. Hooray! All right, moving on. Building from our first slide is the importance of our teachers and their positive impact on our students. And I have a short video that I mentioned just a moment ago. I'd like to show you that highlights the CMCC, not the hospital, LRTC, and OHHS collaboration. The promotional video highlights three of our students working in the precision machine and tool program. The three students, Renoa Penna, Alanda Dennis, and Colby Marcotte, are all working hard to get the most out of the experience. So hopefully this...
And this is the promotional video.
My name is Renoa. I'm a senior at Oak Hill High School. It was a chain of events. It started with woodworking class. LRTC came to my school. I really liked the programs that they offered. I saw that they had a new program that opened up, and I decided to sign up for it, and I got in. I really like working with my hands, and I've always loved machinery. Being able to work with people that are on the same page as me, we can all help each other and do things together.
I really wanted to look for something to do for my future, and I thought this was a great opportunity to get started on early college classes. I definitely like a lot of the work that we've done on the lathe and a lot of the parts that we've made. I love my instructor, Norm. I think he's a great guy, and I always look forward to going to that class. Definitely want to move into this when I get out of high school. I want to take this class and hopefully do this as a career.
A little bit nervous. It seemed kind of intimidating, but when you get here and get into the environment, it's definitely different. The professors help out a lot too. It's a lot more confident now than once you learn it. You kind of progress through it, and it gets a lot easier as you go. It's definitely pretty fun. It's strange to learn more about what it is compared to just not knowing anything and just coming into the class. I want to go into a career in it. It's a good thing to know, and it's very high demand right now. So.
Right, so really excellent highlight of some of our fantastic students at Oak Hill High School. And just this is a promotional video, as Katie said. So this is going to go out all over the place. And, it's obviously very proud moment for me as the principal and Sue as the assistant principal. But, I showed this video at the beginning of our staff meeting yesterday, right? Because we all need some, positive, uplifting information, prior to getting down to some, housekeeping or getting into data or something along those lines. And, you could just tell people were really proud. You don't always stop to think like, all right, we're helping kids, we're in their day to day. What does it look like on the other end? And this is just a wonderful example of that. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And Sue has some updates in regards to, oh no, not that again. Not the video there. Sorry.
Thank you. As Katie mentioned earlier, yeah, she did steal my thunder.
You'll go more in detail.
Sure. On Wednesday, January 31st, Katie Grondin, 4 Oak Hill High School teachers, and myself, we were invited to Oxford Hills Comprehensive High School to learn more about what PBIS looks like at the high school setting. We were warmly welcomed by Principal Paul Bickford and his PBI academic coach, Kevin Cohen. We started with an overview of where Oxford Hills started on its journey with PBIS. They were in their 3rd year of implementation, and they are still moving forward. They are excited to share their successes as well as their hurdles. On February 14th, we are invited back to observe their first whole school recognition celebration. After the assembly, we will meet in small groups with students and teachers to learn more about PBIS from their viewpoint. Overall, it was an excellent experience, and we are looking forward to the 14th.
Thank you so much. All right, we will move down to our student rep reports.
Okay, so for sports, our boys hockey has had a great season and they won their last game, and tomorrow they will play Greeley and we hope they win again. Boys basketball had their senior game last night against Telstar, where after a very close game they lost, but we're still very proud of them for trying their hardest. Girls basketball tonight is having their senior game against Dirigo. We wish them the best of luck. For FBLA will be featured on 207 with Rob Caldwell is coming to record a segment on our 25th consecutive year of success. For OHLA has been planning Winter Carnival, which the Minecraft and movie trailer event has started up for. Winter Carnival is going to be February 26th to March 2nd. OHLA's blood drive has been rescheduled to early March.
Our first few events for states for academic decathlon are next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. It snuck up on us, honestly. And we will be testing an art, literature, and essay. The rest of our events will be held at Halldale High School on March 9th. And their chance of nationals is looking pretty good, so I'm really excited. For drama, one acts have started up, and this year's one act is called A Theatrical Oral History of Americans in Vietnam, also known as Memorial. And we have 8 students participating in that, and the competition will be I believe, at Wyndham High School on March 8th. For robotics, they made it to semifinals after their competition at Yarmouth on January 21st, but unfortunately they're officially done for the season. And then the Outed Club has started up, and they are working on planning their first activity and are very excited for it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move down to Number 7, new business. 7.1, to approve an overnight stay at the Doubletree Hotel in South Portland to attend the FBLA State Conference scheduled for March 17th through the 19th of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
You may have the floor and explain to us a little bit more about what this is. There are some here who don't know what your state champion is. They haven't seen this before.
You can start.
All right, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Angela Roy. I'm the FBLA advisor and a business teacher at Oak Hill. And Sarah Rosignalt is one of our FBLA students, and Destiny is also one of our FBLA students. So we attend a yearly conference in South Portland every year, which is our state competitions. We have taken the state title for 25 years, so always a lot of pressure for us. And as Destiny said, we have an upcoming event where Rod Caldwell is coming and featuring Oak Hill FBLA on 207. So we're super excited about that. He's going to come in and video us preparing for the conference and do some interviews with the kids.
Any questions?
I'm going to ask the question we always ask. Are there financial requirements that you're requesting from the board?
From the board,
Or from the school?
well, we do budget money every year to help pay for the advisors to attend the conference. And then everything else, we do a big calendar fundraiser, which raises, I think we raise $4,500 this year on that, which pays for a good part of the kids to attend.
Anyone else?
Can you let us know when they're going to televise this?
I will. I don't know yet, but when I find out, I definitely will. Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion? No? All right. Seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All right. Have fun.
Thank you.
All right. 7.2, to approve an overnight senior class trip to Boston, Massachusetts, and Six Flags, New England, and Massachusetts, scheduled for May 18th through the 19th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion or questions?
We have the agenda. They provided that for us.
They did. Financials is also taken care of for the students who want to go?
Yeah, so for the most part, our transportation, which we'll be renting a charter bus, and hotel rooms are already funded through the fundraising that the class has done. And then the students will have to take care of their admission into whatever we decide to do. So we're thinking probably under $100 for each kid.
And if there's somebody who can't, is there a way for them to
Oh,
still be able to
absolutely.
go?
We always have extra funds to help out.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor? Sounds like fun.
Thanks.
All right. 7.3, to approve the first reading of the following policies. BEDB-R agenda format. Anyone?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Nicole?
Doug was first.
I didn't see his hand go up.
No,
I
that's
know,
okay.
you saw me.
That's
Sorry.
I was going to ask if we could postpone this till the next meeting, because I kind of wanted to go through it a little bit more and think about it. What would that be, a motion to postpone till our next board meeting?
Okay.
Can we get like a, so I can withdraw if it's
So-
the majority?
This is the second time we would push this forward, and everything was emailed out on Friday. So did you not receive it prior to?
Well, for this particular case, my personal life was very hectic over the weekend. So, no, I feel like the agenda format, I would like to have just at least a week, if not the 2 weeks, to be able to go through before, because there are some changes that I personally.
I think it's
And
also nice with 3 board members not
Yeah.
here as well. But
Kirsty, did you have something?
I'll rescind my motion.
Diane, you too? Okay. So then we will, now I have a motion on the floor to remove it and wait till our next meeting. Any other discussion or questions? You have seconded, right?
I don't know that we did. I'll second. I think Laura did.
It was
Laura.
Christy and Diane. Yes.
Right.
We rescinded.
No,
So
Right, so now
somebody needs to make a motion.
Doug made the motion to remove it,
And
so
Laura
now I need a
seconded.
second. Okay, that's what I was just making sure that there was a second there. All right. All the, right, this is, so,
Just this one.
Just this one.
yes,
Okay.
just this one. Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next policy. BEDH, public participation at Board of Director meetings.
So moved.
Any discussion? Christie?
So I have comments that were sent in from Scott to me as chair of policy. So I'd like to make sure that those get noted as we discuss this policy. I've kind of gone through to try to summarize, but he did send kind of elaborate notes that I can share with the entire board if we see fit. So this is BEDH, and these are Scott's concerns that I'm just providing because he's not here. He has some concerns around the policy in terms of just what he believes is violation of the Constitution. He says that specifically during the time allotted for public participation, members of the public may speak on any subject directly related to the operation of the schools. And then he wants to add, except for personal matters or complaints concerning specific employees or students, which shall be addressed through established policies and procedures. In Section E, speakers are not permitted to share secondhand information, make defamatory comments, use abusive or vulgar language. Section G, he's underlined, no complaints or allegations will be allowed concerning any person employed by the school system. He would like to say that he believes that public employees are subject to scrutiny and is concerned about First Amendment rights there. Section A, around the citizens piece, he has some concerns about, stating that he believes that others should be allowed to speak without needing to be recognized by the chair. Not only do we have a First Amendment right, but the school unit receives state and federal funding, and therefore public comment should not be limited to those inside the district. Section H, that he is concerned about the time limit, because he said his comment is that if the citizens need multiple people to speak on the subject to get the point across, it's not the chairman's place to make any attempts to limit it. And just noting that we've seen it several times in our recent history as a board with busing, budget, COVID issues. He's concerned about silencing the people. And then Section I, which gives the right to the chairman of the board to stop any presentation that violates the guidelines or privacies of others. And he's concerned again about silencing free speech there. So those are his comments. And like I said, I'm happy to forward them off if needed.
Anyone else? Nicole?
So I have similar comments and concerns that Scott did, but I do want to touch upon a couple of them exactly. So I did have a concern with residents as well, even more so, not just from, any citizen who pays state taxes, that does fund our schools as well, but from, any superintendent approved students, whether they're outside the district, they are not residents, or our homeless population. I don't know how those fit into the definition of a resident as it would apply to this policy. The other comments I had, I think there are a couple different sections about repetitive comments or secondhand information. So I know those are like two different categories. However, I feel like it's stifling the public's comment rights, and could be a First Amendment concern. You may have, I guess Scott made the same comment, but you may have a group of people coming here for a particular reason because there is a hot topic at that time, and saying that the first 3 people can comment and then the rest can't. They're not there together. They're there individually, and they should each be heard, even if it is just indicating their brief feelings on a topic or what they're asking of the board to fix or to correct or to focus on. And then the secondhand information piece, I don't even understand that. Like, how would we even know who's gonna police that? And a lot of times secondhand information is how we get around, like, figuring out what's going on in our community. So-and-so goes to this school, heard this, so-and-so goes to that school, this bus. If they are directly impacted, I don't think that they should have any sort of limitation on that. So those are my main comments, but I feel like there's a lot of concern with this as well.
Lauren?
Thank you. I had 2 things or 3 things kind of just highlighted. I can understand and appreciate kind of the proactiveness about maybe the time limits on things, but I don't think it's an issue currently. So can you just help me with when a policy is reviewed and eventually approved, if we were to remove the kind of time constraints on that you're allowed to speak for 3 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever, and it becomes an issue later. So let's say it becomes an issue in September. People come, they flood the gates and, spend 2 hours talking. Could we review that? Could we ask to have the policy reviewed at the next meeting and present it and maybe add a time limit then? Do you have to do one now, or because you can't do one for 3 more years, or you could review a policy again this year and change it? So my suggestion would be to kind of remove the limit because we don't have an issue with it currently, and maybe if it became an issue to revisit the policy. And then we just heard specifically from a few principals about like how great it is to be able to view some of that positivity in our district. And I have that highlighted under G of that, it couldn't discuss job performance or conduct school employee, including complaints or positively. I think if anybody in the community wants to come and give a shout out to anybody in the district, I think they should be able to.
Can I ask a clarifying question around that specifically in terms of liability? Allowing to have specific personnel pieces, isn't that protected? So if we opened it up and said that it would be allowed within our policy, we, as a board in the district, could be opening ourselves up to like litigation. Okay.
Generalizing the staff is different than being personal. So the only personal was the nomination, but everybody is going to hear and see those nominations.
This is public.
So if a member of the district wanted to come out and do it for just one specific, they wouldn't be able to name that teacher. They could just be in general. That's what they're saying. You can't just come out and name that specific teacher.
Yeah. So as a board, we're saying, yes, we know Mrs. Smith in 5th grade is doing a good job, but you can't come say that to us. That's what we're saying in this policy, is you can't come publicly say, we love Mrs. Smith. She does such a great job.
So I think what happens is if you allow good, then can you allow the bad? And you can't allow the bad, so therefore you don't allow the good. It's like you said, if somebody came and said, so-and-so's doing a great job, you probably wouldn't say anything about that, right? There probably wouldn't be, don't say anything, right? But if they say, that person's doing a good job, and this teacher we wish would be doing the same thing, now you've just, it's a fine line. Remember policies, and what is hard is policies are very much reviewed by law, right? So even like going back to speakers are permitted to share secondhand, that got striked out. Mm-hmm. And then they're adding a different way of saying it, which is you can't speak vulgarly about people, you can't. So I think that's what it is. It's a balance. If you allow this, then are you saying you don't allow that? So if there's probably an attorney thing around that, because remember, a lot of things come up because they went to court. And so we would have to get an attorney to explain why that would be, and we can. We can ask the attorney, why is good not allowed in public session?
Perfect.
So
they
can
I would
ask
like
those
to know that
questions.
further.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Because you might need explanation, like Scott's feeling about First Amendment rights, and attorney might say you do, but not in these areas because there's other laws that protect. So it's a fine line. It's just, that's what the lens goes through, is could you be sued if you don't follow?
I think also at the policy committee, we talked about the perception in the community is if you are only wanting to hear the good, the perception is that then you don't actually want to know what's going on. And so that's if we're only allowing good news to come to the board. So I think that was a conversation of like, we know that there's a liability, and then if you just reduce that, then when the issues arise, then it's an issue, but it's not specific to a person for liability.
And then the other kind of red piece was on the first page, in addition to speaking during the designated, the public can submit written comments. This are welcome to submit written comments on the school and educational matters to the board and the superintendent. And then, so is that saying like they can send an email, they send a letter in, they drop a letter off, and then does that be read at the next board meeting, or how does that get relayed as like official public comment versus like just an email type of thing? Is it added to the minutes? Is it added as a addendum? Is it added as a exhibit? Or do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, what's the process is the question?
Yeah.
I mean, to contribute to that, part of the reason why I wanted the agenda format tabled is that one of my concerns is, as been mentioned before, is I would kind of like a little bit more of a window for public comment pre and post board discussion. And I wanted to think about a way that is feasible, or at least understandable, and without hindering or adding large amounts of time to the meetings. Because to Laura's point, I agree. I would like to have a little more public involvement, that is whatever more we can give or get or whatever, without getting it crazy. That kind of, crazy is not the right word. You know what I mean? Without it being unmanageable. Unmanageable.
So what, I also just didn't know the definition or the difference between what a citizen is versus what a resident is, and if that's able to kind of, because that seems to have been crossed out a few spaces, but can you?
I can speak to the discussion we had at policy. So we were thinking about how we do our budget meetings. And so at the budget meeting, if you remember, we've done so many of them, you have to check in, you get your little placard to be able to vote. And then as a board, we have to give permission for non-resident administrators to be able to speak. So that's where this came from, is should we not weigh the comments, but residents from our 3 towns that are paying taxes, should they have a different, should we be holding the same expectations for when we're doing our budget meetings to our board meetings in terms of comment? And it's not saying that non-residents can't speak. The way that this policy reads is that the chairman of the board of directors can determine whether or not to allow. So that's how we.
The second sentence.
Yes, that's how we landed on this, in thinking about how we do our budget meetings. Right. So
That's all
to
the
mirror.
questions I have. Thank you.
So for me, I just worry that I understand you wanting to give more control to the public, but where is the public? Right?
I don't think that's.
There's the 3 minutes, it's just a time limit. We don't, maybe in the past it's happened, but it doesn't happen here. And before it was only 2 minutes. Now it's up to the 3 minute mark. So I think just having that in there prevents it from happening. Instead of waiting till it happens, don't react to it, just have it there.
Could we say maybe limited
That's what
Yeah.
I put in there.
instead of are limited? But if, let's say,
Yeah, maybe.
we have 15 people that show up, and knowing that we have to end our new business by a certain time period, I think that plays into this too, is that we can't adopt new business after X hour, right? So if we had an hour and a half of public comment, that would really impede our ability to be able to do new business. So could we, my suggestion is to change it from they are limited to a maximum to may be limited, and then we can adjust if needed. So it doesn't limit people if there's only 2 people speaking. But if we get into a scenario that there's 100 people wanting to talk about a topic, then we could utilize that.
So,
The last sentence in that paragraph says that. The time limits in this paragraph may be modified at a particular meeting at the discretion of the board. So we can modify that if we see that we need to. But I think putting maybe in there instead of a maximum of 3 may be a better idea. I mean, if we have 30 people waiting, we may want to limit. If we only have 5,
anyone else? No? All right. So there's changes to this. So this is going to go back now for the second reading and come back with the changes if we vote on this. Right.
I think it's just the time.
Or are we just doing it, maybe, like, what, I just, there's really, like, my suggestion, but there wasn't really a question on
What to change.
like, Steve's direction from the board of what do you want to see in the second policy?
You want me to go? I personally think it needs to go back for discussion with the typed up and kind of the conversation and discussion that's happened. I'd like to see it kind of go back to the committee for review with all of those items taken into consideration. I mean, we could kind of go paragraph by paragraph if you'd like to do that now. I don't know, Christy, if you're able to take those back for.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly can bring it back to policy. I think you're right, Kathy. There's a lot of things that got thrown out, but I don't really know where the will of the majority is. Yeah, what is the majority? So I heard kind of 3 things. I heard for and against, one around the residence piece. Do we want to keep that into the policy or not? The second is around the public comment piece, changing the language from are limited to may be limited. And then there was some pieces around the positive, negative commenting and the request to have legal guidance around that. So those are the 3 major ones I heard. Am I missing any?
Scott, right? Like Scott kind of points which tie, I guess,
Into all
into
of
that
those
legal
things, yeah.
piece. So, I mean, until we get clarification around that.
I mean, I guess my question is, are you directing us to send Scott's comments to the attorney to say whether those have merit? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think so.
I just,
Scott and Nicole's, right? And then about
And
the
Nicole.
positivity piece of it. Yeah.
So this will go back to
So it'll go back to committee.
until we get your answers from the lawyer.
Yeah. Yep.
Right, so
We need to move it.
want to remove or rescind your motion?
I can rescind my motion to approve the first reading of policy BEDH, public participation.
Diane? We will move on to policy IJJ, instructional and library media material selection. Anyone?
So moved.
I'll second it. We're gonna have to, yeah, we did go through it.
Any discussion?
Again, I have comments from Scott. So overall, his concern around this policy, IJJ, has to do with parental authority. So he is concerned about what he's mostly concerned about, and I'm summarizing, and you can read his words specifically, is the transparency. So current policy is that by enrolling your student into RSU4, you are opting them into the curriculum. You are opting them into pieces. His concern is that he would like more transparency. He would like more parental authority, not just based on the material's passions or portions that are pulled out, but the material as a whole. So he says that he would prefer he says, so a book containing a single word, phrase, sentence, or picture that's highly inappropriate cannot be removed. Why ask to cite specific pieces of the material on the challenge form if it's going to be judged as a whole? And there's more that I can share.
Any other discussion? Nicole?
Yeah, I have concerns about this one as well as it pertains to parental authority, as it pertains to selection of materials. The selection of materials, although governed or responsible, the board is responsible for, it clearly states that, but then the responsibility is delegated, and I don't think it's very clear on the reporting back to the board when those materials are selected or when they're being recommended for selection. I think it was in, I have to get back to that paragraph, but I can get that for you if you want it directly. But it talks about the superintendent should be reporting back to the board regarding the materials that are being selected. I don't feel like that's detailed enough, and it seems pretty vague and broad on when that occurs, how that occurs. And as it pertains to controversial information, I think that's the term that's used in here. That's also a very subjective term, and I think we need to have more parameters and defined framework regarding what is considered controversial, how it's considered, and why it's considered. Because what could be controversial to me may not be controversial to somebody else. And that's a very subjective and scary road to go down. And those are my two main concerns regarding the content. For consistency purposes, I think there are some sections, some sentences that still say school committee rather than board. But other than that, I didn't see anything else. Thank you.
Laura?
Thank you. I had a few things kind of marked up on this as well. So if I could ask a couple of questions or make a statement first, is that there's a lot of the school committees crossed out in board, but there's multiple kind of sections throughout it that it didn't get crossed out. So I just assumed somebody would kind of find those, because if we're, and just on the first page, like partway down, there's just two there that were that way. At the bottom, as a public institution, the media center will be open to communities, making available its material, resources, and services. Does that mean that it's like a public library? So what would that, as a public institution, it's open to the communities, making available its material, resources, and services?
To allow it for some of our homeschool students to have access to our libraries.
Just because I've been asked a few times about, like, in 1974, the high school is supposed to be a public library, and Sabatis and Wheels and Litchfield don't have one. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's what that means, is it's open to, I don't know. So if it's open to homeschools and it's open to the communities, it's open to homeschool.
There
But then is it open to,
We don't typically have people from the community coming in.
but in this policy, it would be. So in this policy, it would be a public library essentially. So would we need to, would it be a public library for the hours of school?
I guess
Question.
that brings up a question of security, if people can come
Yeah.
in to use a public library.
Yeah. And then on page 4, under parental authority, it says within a reasonable time after such a request is made. I would suggest maybe in 72 hours or within 4 business days, or I don't know. I don't know a reasonable time or what that means. And then again, under just above the challenge material, it's school committee, and then there's school committee again. On page 5, on C, the superintendent shall appoint a committee composed of the following persons to review the complaint. So a principal, a librarian, a department head, 1 community member. I didn't know if there could be somebody from the board member or to join that kind of committee when there's a complaint filed.
In replacing the community member or in addition?
I put in addition to, I don't know how many complaints we've had or what that community member does, or I don't know the benefits of that, but so those are the suggestions I had kind of put on that one. Thank you.
I think the only issue is the appeal is to the board.
Right.
So a
Yeah.
board member will have the board member on the initial committee could not be part of the appeal.
You'd have to recuse yourself.
You'd have to recuse yourself. That's probably why it wasn't there.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, what would you like to see done? Besides, so what are we doing with this policy? We can vote on it? Or are we going back to committee, guys? Vote. Okay. All those in favor of the school committee changing?
Yep.
The
The
addition of the 72
72
hours.
Well, I don't care what time it is. I just suggested. So, I
Can
mean,
we
if
look at that just to make sure it's doable?
Yeah.
Because I think reasonable allows, it's almost like 4 years, the same, it's a reasonable time. Because once we put the time in,
right,
you got to hold to the time.
right, which is what.
School, hours as opposed to, you give it to me on Friday at 5 and I only have so many hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
Might be
Three school days.
versus hours.
School days.
Yeah.
Would that work for you,
That's
like
fine
if
with
it's
me.
school days?
I just asked for a time to be in there. I mean, it could be like.
Right, I just wanna
2
make sure.
years, Like I.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I do have concerns about the library piece and the safety.
Mm-hmm.
You just strike those.
Just strike the line out? Okay, so with those changes. Okay, all those in favor of sending this on to the final second reading with those changes? Yes?
But you still can give feedback to the second reading.
And no?
But yeah, but every time we ask for it at the second reading, we get flack for it.
Yeah.
No?
Oh.
Abstaining?
The question was it in support of passing this to a second reading or no?
Yes.
With the change.
So no.
No.
Oh. Okay, so we have to do the point.
Two Litchfield, the 3 Litchfield, 1 Sabata.
Thank you. So we'll go down to policy IJJ-E, challenge of instructional or library media materials.
That's a form, because the policy said there's a form, and so here's the form.
I need the motion in a second.
Yeah, I want clear, sorry.
So moved.
Any discussion?
So this is new. We never had a form.
And now we have a form.
Any discussion?
How does this affect, like, teachers having books and things in their classroom? I mean, if something were to be removed from the library, how will teachers know that so they can remove if they had that same book in their classroom? Because it doesn't say anything about classroom libraries.
Oh, yeah, we would
Okay,
definitely.
just making sure.
No, definitely, yeah. Yeah. We'd make sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
They don't get caught in, yeah.
I think it's important to have a paper trail, and this form
Mhm.
creates that paper trail and then starts the process that is outlined in the policy, IJJ.
Laura?
So this form is in policy IJJ. It comes from that policy. So, right. So on page 6, it said that this was adopted on November 10th, 2005.
Yeah, they never had a form.
Yeah. So how many forms since this policy's been adopted that we had to have, that were filed? 0. Okay. So 2024, right? Okay. Thank you for that.
I think it's just because it says there is a form, they created the form. Right, any other discussion? Seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All those not in favor? Okay. Policy IMB, teaching about controversial and sensitive issues.
So moved.
Second, I was going to move to table.
Yeah, I was gonna like this and the next 2, but then we could get through the other 3 pretty quickly. The 2 others.
Any discussion?
And I'm guessing this was a sample from
Yes,
Maine
this
School
is a-
Management. I
this
just
is
want
a
to say this was vetted through.
Yep. So this
Right.
is brand new.
So it's been vetted through attorneys. So-
Could we table it though? Can we still do that? Could we table it to the next?
Reasoning?
I'm sure there's quite a few comments that would result in it being tabled anyway, so. There we go. A motion to table this for the next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Moved anyway.
It's okay.
All right, policy IMBB, exemption from required instructions.
I'd like to make a motion to table this as well.
Second. It goes with that when you table.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes, I'll make them replace the number.
Okay. JEA, compulsory attendance.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Policy JFC, dropout prevention, student withdrawal from school.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Yes. An edit, page 1, section A, it still says committee. So just to strike out that, it says a member of the committee, which is strucken out, board, selected by the committee board. So if we can just strike out committee on that. Oh, that's weird. I'm looking at the online version, so maybe it's just, okay, great.
It is crossed.
Sorry, I take that back.
On the page 1, on that 3rd paragraph, it does say the committee. Is that supposed to say board there?
Prevention committee.
It's the full
committee, it's the actual dropout prevention committee, then it says board where it needs to be.
Okay.
So it's actually talking about the dropout prevention committee.
Should, Just
I
for
can
some,
say dropout prevention committee everywhere.
or like just say like further like
It's only said like
as
three
other
times, we
known,
can
yeah.
spell it out.
Just add the dropout prevention piece. That would make it clearer. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote with the changing of adding dropout prevention committee to the sentence, those two paragraphs. All those in favor? All those not in favor? All right, policy JLF, reporting child abuse and neglect.
So moved.
Any discussion? Nicole?
Bless you.
Bless you.
So I know it's not new. I know the definition is the same. However, I am concerned about the definition of child abuse or neglect, including a threat to a child's health or welfare by physical, mental, or emotional injury or impairment without any qualifying factors regarding what is considered a threat, what is considered mental or emotional injury or impairment. I did look at the citations down below. Did not find it in DHHS or USC. But I did not look any further than what was cited. So I would like to see that we have qualifying factors, as well as, who's making that determination. I think in today's society, mental or emotional injury or impairment is extremely subjective and volatile when it comes to threatening children to, be removed from their home. We've heard it on the news. There's children being removed from homes for very scary reasons, and I think that we need to define that and have our policy be clear.
So I think it's just important to note, this is the policy around our staff reporting. It isn't the responsibility of the district to determine whether or not it is a reportable offense. So it would be the department that would be determining whether or not. So as a mandated reporter, which all of our teachers are and our staff, they are required by law for any suspicion of child abuse and neglect, and they receive trainings yearly around that. So they're making a good faith determination that they believe it's reportable. And honestly, if you've ever had to make a child abuse report, sorry if you have, when you talk to the person that you're making the report to, they will tell you whether or not it's reportable. Because there are certain qualifications that the state will determine whether or not. So that isn't, I'm just saying as a policy, it isn't up to us to define those pieces, because it's defined by the law.
Well, then can we reference the definitions of where they exist?
Yeah.
Because if we're going to define child abuse or neglect, granted, we are pulling it from the main
State statute.
statute.
Yeah, which is that 20.
But if there are DHHS qualifications or factors or things that we can point to, I think that those should be then included as the citations.
Okay.
Anything else?
Which I think it's in there.
It's in the legal reference.
Yeah,
in the legal
it's
reference.
22, chapter 1071.
I read that, and it only reiterates the same thing that's in the definition up above. I did not see anything in addition to that explains what a threat is considered and how to qualify that, or basically what's a reportable event. It just literally was the exact same legal reference, legal content.
So I wonder if the legal reference for mandated reporter might give those details.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Yeah.
It looks like what happened is they reformatted and added truancy. They added a couple of things since the laws changed in this area. Yeah.
One other minor comment, potentially, only because we don't have a preschool, but we mentioned preschool in the underage or
Pre-K.
right, but it says preschool, but not pre-K. So I don't know if that's okay. I wasn't sure if that was a big difference or not. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, so the motion is to put this into the second reading with updating the citation and reference as Nicole has asked. Okay. All those in favor? All those not in favor? Move to 8 committee reports. The Finance and Facilities Committee Consolidation Subcommittee report.
So we met and we kind of created a new sheet, a matrix for determining the social consolidation plan. I don't know if everybody can hear me. And we just really tried to provide guidance for the committee in the subcommittee in determining how to proceed as the schools. We had just, between the last meeting and this current meeting, we had gone through and did a walkthrough at SPS. So having done that walkthrough, we almost all of the members of the subcommittee went and did that, and they brought what they thought to the meeting today, and we reiterated that we should be trying to determine the best option by adhering to our RSU4 mission statement and especially the vision statements, as opposed to just which school we preferred. We wanted to really choose based on criteria that we thought would allow us to meet our mission and vision statements as a school. So what we did is we took major areas of concern or criteria to evaluate the schools, and we individually all came up with what we thought were important ones, and we put a chart up, and we circled major groupings that kind of formed from that, and then we wrote those down on the kind of the back of the sheet, and we kind of paired off or tripled off as a group, and went through and judged what we thought the SPS, how it met those various criteria that we came up with. So that pretty much took the whole, hour or so that we had. And then we collected the papers. They're going to be put into a kind of a table. From this meeting to next meeting, we will meet over at Libby Tozier to kind of get a walkthrough at Libby Tozier. And then we're going to do the same thing at the next meeting. We're going to kind of go through and go based on those criteria points. How did Libby Tozier kind of rank in our minds with those criteria that we've come up with? And then we can start the discussions of, well, how do these schools kind of meet the vision statements of RSU4 and which one, how we will go. So the next meeting will be pretty interesting. But I think I covered all of it. Did I miss anything? I don't know. No.
Doug, are you, or anybody on the video, are you posting minutes so the public can be informed of what's going on?
Yeah. Under school board, there's the consolidation subcommittee. There's a link to our Google Classroom with everything in it. So everything is going to be transparent.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
All set? Okay. We will move on to Personnel and Policy Committee.
Yes. So we've been busy. We met today to review some job descriptions, the head custodian job description and the custodian job description. We also reviewed 3 new policies. One is EEBB, which is the use of private vehicles for school buses. That is a policy that doesn't exist currently in our district, and it will be coming to first reading at our next board meeting. We reviewed policy EEA, which is our student transportation services policy. We just wanted to have a kind of a discussion around the transportation challenge during this school year and kind of see if we needed to bring it to the entire board for any recommendations. And as a committee, we determined that there's no changes because we're actually going above and beyond what the policy requires. But we just wanted to review it ahead of budget season. And then the last two are around something that I had asked about, a school board self-evaluation. When you look at our policies, it says it's something that we do, but we've never actually done it. So we are going to provide policy BBAB, which is the school board self-evaluation, and then a self-evaluation form, which is something that if we decide as a board to adopt, we would be utilizing each year to determine our own goals as a board and kind of determine where we're at in kind of different policy areas. So we were able to lean on Lewiston's school board and what they use for their self-evaluation, and we will be providing that to you all next meeting as well. Yes.
Just kind of curious at how the Personnel Policy Committee picks or identifies which policies to review, how often they're reviewed.
Yeah. So Kathy is our liaison for personnel and policy, and she puts together, because she goes through every single policy that we have and develops for us a basically a calendar, and that she gives that to us at the beginning of the year. And we're really looking at the policies that haven't, one, if we don't have a policy in existence, to policies that are older or that still have the Oak Hill piece or the Wales Central School. So really trying to bring those up to speed. And then the other policies that kind of come on are things that get brought up in the community, or if there's legal changes, those are ones that we kind of have to address right away. And we're trying to be really mindful of kind of the ebbs and flows of our board meetings too, knowing that we don't want to put something to first reading in like May when we only have 2 more meetings and have it sit until the next board meeting in August, September. So just trying to balance all of those pieces out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right. We'll go down to 9 board member comments. Nicole?
I don't know how much they are comments versus some just questions with the budget coming up. So Katie, you mentioned that Sam's working really, really hard on that. And I think that's our next meeting. So what I'm looking for is the materials that I requested for the budget prep, which was the actuals from last year and year to date, and our audit, which I know that
It's not completed.
I was going to ask in our finance
that's
committee
why.
today, and we ran out of time. So can I have the most recent completed audit then, please?
All right, so 2 things. The audit isn't completed, and when it is, it comes to the whole board.
So can I have the most recent completed one? So last year's?
You want last year's audit? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
easy, yeah. And then the actuals, I did hear you say that, and we're going to have that as part of the whole board getting budget information.
Okay.
So, but the first meeting, we're not going to cover numbers at all. So the February 28th will not be a numbers evening.
Okay.
But
I just want to make sure that we have the information. We were, it was
Yeah.
reiterated how we have to develop the budget. It's our responsibility to develop the budget. So
Yeah.
I'm taking that very seriously, and I want to make sure that I go through them like.
Oh, yeah, no, you'll get plenty of information, and in our budget prep, we have the actuals, so we want to make sure we pick the date that you get the actuals, because those change, obviously, weekly.
Yep.
So, yes,
Okay.
I heard you, and when the whole board gets it, you'll have it.
Thank you.
Okay.
The other question is kind of like an update from last week's budget. Not last week's, last committee meeting. We did have that wonderful transportation update, which I really enjoyed, and I commented on last time. But we did have 3 in training. So I was just wondering if we can get an update on those.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I guess for me with the again, it's more of like questions. I guess the agenda format. I guess I don't know when a better time would to ask. Why was the board member comments section cut from that? Just yeah, I know.
Keep going.
That one's the main one. I just want to know so I know for next time what to bring up and why. I don't know. Yeah.
It could have been, well, then when we bring it up next time, then we will have it as part of the discussion for that policy.
Okay.
That can be asked then
Okay.
during that discussion.
Yeah.
Laura?
I just have a comment about, I do think that our agenda could be modified. So I appreciate kind of an agenda format coming as well. And then, just kind of the importance of again, with the transportation thing, it was on the new business last meeting and maybe it would be the old business this meeting. But otherwise than that, I think good.
I do want to say I appreciate everything that the policy committee is doing because this is a ton of policies and I know it's a lot of work and I feel really bad. So I really appreciate I just for being on the finance, it seems like a lot and you guys have stacks of stuff. So I don't want it to discredit at all. Okay.
Nice cut. Okay. We will move on to number 10, to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056D Regional Schools United 4 Education Association Support Staff Contract Negotiations. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?